Hello my friends, welcome to my corner. As I'm sure you know, the Swedish Academy has announced the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature for 2025, the Hungarian author László Krasznahorkai. What do you think of the Academy's decision? Please let me know in the comments. I have read him several years ago, back in the pandemic, so I'll probably read another book by him, and as you can expect from this channel, I will share my thoughts on his work with you. But today what I want to do is I want to share with you my top 10 Nobel laureates. So to me, in my opinion, the best of the best, more or less ranked to make it a little bit more interesting, and I'm also going to give you recommendations for one book by each of these authors. So, in the words of AC/DC, are you ready? In the words of the Ramones, let's go! We are going to start at number 10 with one of the most influential poets of the 20th century. I am referring to T.S. Eliot. Not really that prolific as a poet, but The Wasteland revolutionized modern poetry, as you know, to the extent that William Carlos Williams compared its effect to that of an atom bomb. This cornerstone of modernism is a fragmented, ventriloquist epic that explores banality and spiritual dryness. His four quartets don't get as much attention, but they are equally profound, if you ask me. By the way, you can check out my video on The Wasteland for an in-depth reading/guide to the poem. We continue with number 9, and that is Kazuo Ishiguro. His novel, The Remains of the Day, is simply flawless. It's a delight to read. This is the story of a butler who looks back on his life and his service to the aristocracy. It's just a wonderfully contained narrative. I'm going to tell you, I have enjoyed every book that I've read by Ishiguro. His style is just so well crafted and his language so precise. I had already read him when he received the Nobel Prize, and I was so happy to hear the announcement. I don't have a video on The Remains of the Day, at least not yet, but I do have one on The Unconsoled, which I believe is an underrated piece in his corpus, so feel free to check that out. Number 8 is one of the greatest US novelists ever. I am referring to Toni Morrison. I'm going to recommend to you Song of Solomon. This is a coming-of-age story about a young man in search of himself, trying to understand his past so that he can build his future. When it comes to Morrison, I think you can almost grab any of her novels, and you know that it's going to be great. But I also recommend Sula, because it's brief but powerful. And of course, needless to say, Beloved has received plenty of praise, and for good reason. Very good news, my friend. There's a video on Song of Solomon coming right up at your favorite corner of the world, so please be on the lookout for that one. Number 7 is the author that inspired me to read at least one work by every winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, J.M. Coetzee. Waiting for the Barbarians remains one of my favorite novels by him. It's a fascinating story at the literal level, but it is also a perceptive allegory on the dynamics of power. So it's a novel that is going to remain relevant for a very long time, it seems. And I do have a video on it, so feel free to check that one out too. Next we have number 6. When the announcement came that Alice Munro had received the Nobel Prize in Literature, I'm going to confess that I had not read a single short story by her, if you can believe that. I checked out a volume titled Vintage Munro from my university's library, and I absolutely fell in love. Her best stories, of course, are scattered throughout her books, but one of the collections that I personally enjoyed the most is Hateship, Friendship, Courtship, Loveship, Marriage. The title story, of course, is included, has been made into a movie, and it also includes another one that has been adapted, and that is The Bear Came Over the Mountain. Alice Munro writes with compassion, and she writes about human connections, exploring their complexity and the indelible marks that they leave on us. And I think the structures that she uses are exquisite. I'm still so happy to think that the Swedish Academy recognized the power of the short story as a genre through Alice Munro. Number 5, a writer that marked my 20s with his autobiographies of the soul, Hermann Hesse. I haven't read all of his books, not even close, but so far the one that has left the deepest impression on me is Demian. This is a coming-of-age story that incorporates elements of Gnosticism. It's one of those books that make you see life in a completely new light. You may disagree at times, you may find some of the approach questionable, but I think the power of this novel is just undeniable. I've done a video on Demian, it's in Spanish, but the subtitles are pretty good, just in case you're interested. Number 4 is another author that I had not read when he received the Nobel, Patriarch Modiano. He has said himself that in a sense he has been writing one book his entire career, just variations of similar themes. Some people are going to say he's repetitive. I say that he is consistent and focused. I am not a huge fan of his latest work, but I never get bored of reading him. I'm going to say that. Finding the familiar themes there is like visiting a place that you know very well and that you love very much. The one that I'm going to recommend to you, which is the one that you're seeing here in the French edition, Du plus loin de l'oubli, is Out of the Dark. I don't have a video on this one, but I do have one on Scene of the Crime, one of his latest works that I did enjoy very much. Number 3, a monument of Latin American literature. Who am I referring to? Of course, good old Gabriel García Márquez. He's the author who popularized magical realism, something that many readers have criticized and or gotten tired of, but nevertheless a phenomenon that cannot be ignored. I'm not going to recommend to you 100 Years of Solitude. I think that at this point I can assume that you have either read it or that you have decided that you're not going to read it, that you're not interested. And either way, by the way, is totally okay with me. I believe, as I have said before, that his technical masterpiece is El Otoño del Patriarca, or The Autumn of the Patriarch, a novel that is also an in-depth study of the figure of the dictator. Jorge, have you done a video on it? Yes, my friend. So please check it out. So we come to number 2. I could not make a video like this one and not include him. William Faulkner. Few authors have challenged me and given me as much pleasure as he has at the same time. I do not really consider The Sound and the Fury to be his masterpiece. More to come about this, but it is definitely one of his highest achievements. This is a family saga, narrated from 4 different perspectives, and, very importantly, this is the novel that taught Faulkner that he should write for himself. I've done a video on it, but in Spanish also. The subtitles are pretty good because I edited the original ones in English, so feel free to explore that video too. And finally, we come to the author who is, so far, my favorite of the Nobel laureates, Yasunari Kawabata. I simply adore him. His compassionate worldview, his lucid style, his human, all too human characters, everything. I love all of his books, but the one that I enjoyed the most was The Sound of the Mountain, which is a story about family and desire. I've done 3 videos on him so far, one showing my collection, and then I have done book reviews on The Old Capital, or Kyoto, and The Rainbow. All I can say about him is just read him. So that is my humble list of the top 10, the best of the Nobel Prize in literature. Like every list of this kind, it is completely subjective, personal, questionable, and any other adjective of the kind that you want to add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, who are your top 10? You know, who would you include? Who would you leave out? And also, I'm going to mention one author that almost made it to the list, and that is Samuel Beckett. So I hope you enjoyed this list, and I hope you enjoy the works of the newest Nobel laureate. More to come about that and about other Nobel laureates for sure. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day.